Have you ever been told you're worthless by the people who are supposed to love you the most? Imagine spending 28 years being invisible in your own family while your sister got everything handed to her. And then, one secret document changes everything. Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Before we dive in, make sure you hit subscribe and tap the bell, because you don't want to miss the kind of stories we share here on Shadow of Betrayal. All right, let's get into it. My name is Dulce Witford. For 28 years, I lived in the shadow of my family. My parents treated me like I was invisible. My sister Miranda got all the attention, all the praise, all the opportunities. At the dinner table, I was the slow one, the one who could never measure up. Dyslexia wasn't just a learning challenge, it was a label that followed me everywhere. While Miranda racked up degrees and inheritance promises, I was ignored, excluded, barely even noticed. Every achievement I tried to make mattered less than my sister's smallest success. But everything changed on the day of Miranda's big Harvard graduation celebration. I was sitting quietly in my apartment when a stranger handed me a package. Inside was a handwritten letter from my grandmother, Eleanor, and a USB drive. The letter explained that my father, Gerald, had tried to take control of the company she had built, Witford Properties. She revealed secrets no one knew, an original 1965 partnership agreement, evidence of my father attempting to reduce her voting rights, and instructions for how I could take back what was mine, not for revenge, but for justice. Plugging in the USB, I found 2018 board meeting minutes proving that my father had indeed tried to strip my grandmother, and by extension, me, of power. That night, I called Margaret Coleman, a longtime friend of my grandmother's and a seasoned board member. She didn't hesitate. She explained that Gerald wasn't as untouchable as he thought. Several board members had private concerns about Gerald. Together, we identified Richard Holloway and Susan Parker as allies. The plan was set. The next day, Gerald found out I'd triggered an emergency board meeting. Miranda called me furious, her voice tight with control, but I stayed calm. Gerald stormed past my cubicle, muttering about ridiculous waste of time and senile board members. For the first time, being underestimated felt like an advantage. That night, I prepared my documents, the 2019 will, the 2018 board minutes, and a brief factual statement. Jonathan Ellis, my grandmother's lawyer, confirmed he'd be there to authenticate everything. By 11 p.m., the petition was filed, and the stage was set. On May 18, 2024, I stepped into Witford Tower. The security guard stopped me. "You're not on the list." I took a deep breath. "I'm a Witford employee. I have business with the board." That's when Miranda appeared, perfect in her navy power suit, trying to look like she belonged. My father followed, flanked by senior executives. The tension in the hallway could have snapped steel. But then Margaret Coleman, silver-haired and commanding, appeared. "I invited her," she said. "Let her in." My father's jaw tightened. For once, authority didn't come from blood. It came from respect and history. The boardroom was intimidating, all Italian marble and polished walnut. Gerald at the head of the table, Miranda beside him, the rest of the board seated. I was at the far end, nervous but determined. I opened my portfolio and pulled out my grandmother's will. Silence swept across the room. Gerald's face drained of color. "That's impossible," he sputtered, but Jonathan Ellis confirmed the will's authenticity. My grandmother had left 51% of Witford Properties to me, along with full voting rights. The board murmured. Gerald's allies faltered. My father's temper couldn't hide the fear in his eyes. Miranda tried to dismiss it as a forgery. Gerald claimed manipulation. I didn't waver. I played the 2018 board meeting audio, my father, on tape, admitting he wanted to reduce my grandmother's voting rights because he thought she was too old to understand business. The room was frozen. My grandmother's foresight had me covered, every contingency planned, every attempt at control documented and countered. I didn't just prove the will's legitimacy, I exposed my father's betrayal and the bias that had defined my childhood. When the board reconvened after legal counsel confirmed everything, I held my ground. I had a motion, a vote of confidence in Gerald as CEO. Not revenge, not a power grab, just governance. If the board supported him, he could stay. If not, he would resign. 7 members voted no confidence, 4 voted yes, 1 abstained. My father, frozen in disbelief, walked out. Recognition had replaced rage. He'd underestimated me completely. I didn't want to run the company. I just wanted the truth recognized and my grandmother's legacy honored. The board later offered me a role as strategic advisor, letting me influence major decisions while I figured out my own path. It was fair, honest, and exactly what Eleanor would have wanted. The fallout was immediate. Gerald and Priscilla canceled appearances, the upper echelon of Manhattan real estate buzzed about the shakeup, and investment partners reached out directly to me. Messages poured in from colleagues who had ignored me for years, finally recognizing my voice. Patricia Morales, who'd worked with my grandmother since 1987, sent me a message that made me pause. "Your grandmother said you saw things others missed. I finally get it." Over the next months, I started rebuilding my relationships on my own terms. My mother apologized for staying silent, my sister admitted the cage of perfectionism she had lived in, and slowly we began to write a new story together. Dyslexia, once my supposed flaw, became part of my strength. The ability to see patterns, to notice what others overlook, that's what allowed me to see the truth when everyone else was blind. Now, I have my own apartment in Brooklyn Heights. I lead a new division at Witford Properties focused on sustainable development, earning $185,000 a year plus dividends from my shares. I'm shaping a company my grandmother built, but on my own values: integrity, fairness, and vision. My parents call occasionally, polite conversations pretending the past never happened. My sister and I meet for coffee sometimes, learning to truly see each other. It's not perfect, but it's honest. And the lesson here isn't about inheritance, money, or revenge. It's about seeing your own worth, even when everyone else refuses to see it. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. You get to decide who walks through. You don't need approval from the people who doubted you for years. You don't need a secret will to prove your value. You just need to give yourself permission to believe in yourself. That's the real inheritance my grandmother left me, and nobody can take it away. If you've ever felt overlooked, dismissed, or underestimated, know this: your worth isn't determined by anyone else. You define it. Own it. If this story hit home, leave a comment below and tell me your story. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story like this. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things when they finally stand up for themselves. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Until next time, keep your head high and your heart steady.